It's helping to remove Burmese pythons from the wild in record numbers.
Every year, the United States government drops thousands of dead mice from helicopters into the Florida Everglades. Each mouse is stuffed with a common painkiller. Each one is designed to kill something that should never have been there. And the reason they're doing it is far more terrifying than the method. Here's the deal. What I'm about to tell you sounds like the plot of a bad horror movie, but every detail is real. Documented by federal scientists, confirmed by field data, and funded by taxpayer dollars. Somewhere beneath the sawgrass of southern Florida, an invasion is unfolding that has already wiped out nearly every small mammal in one of America's most important ecosystems. The predator is invisible. The damage is catastrophic, and for 2 decades, nothing anyone tried made the slightest difference. Then a team of researchers proposed something so strange that even their colleagues thought they were joking. They weren't. And once you understand why dead mice are falling from the sky over the Everglades, you'll never look at this landscape the same way again. Segment 1. The ecosystem that ran like clockwork. The Florida Everglades is not a swamp. It is a river, 60 miles wide and only 6 inches deep, flowing south through 1.5 million acres of sawgrass, cypress, and mangrove. For thousands of years, every species in this system existed in a balance so precise that removing a single predator could collapse entire food chains within a generation. Then something arrived that broke the machine completely. The system works like a chain. Wading birds eat small fish. Alligators regulate turtle and mammal populations. Panthers keep deer herds in check. Every link depends on the one before it. Remove one species and the chain loosens. Remove a dozen and the whole thing falls apart. Scientists call the Everglades one of the most complex wetland ecosystems on the planet. Over 67 threatened or endangered species depend on its survival. The wood stork, the Florida panther, the West Indian manatee, all of them tied to this single sheet of moving water. For centuries, the biggest threats were human ones. Drainage canals, agricultural runoff, urban sprawl eating away at the edges. But none of those threats moved through the grass at night. None of them hunted in total silence. None of them could swallow an alligator whole and disappear without a trace. The Everglades had survived hurricanes, droughts, and decades of human engineering. It was not prepared for what came next. Segment 2. The vanishing. In 2003, a team of wildlife biologists drove the same survey routes through Everglades National Park that researchers had been driving for decades. The roads were the same, the conditions were the same, but the animals were gone. Raccoon sightings had dropped by 99.3%. Opossum observations fell to 0. Marsh rabbits completely vanished. These weren't rare species. Raccoons and opossums were among the most common mammals in Florida. They had thrived in the Everglades for as long as anyone had been counting. Now the roads were empty. The biologists expanded their search. They set camera traps. They checked nesting sites. They walked transects on foot through miles of sawgrass and hammock. The results were the same everywhere. Mammals that had once been abundant were simply missing from the landscape. Fox populations had collapsed by 87.5%. Bobcat sightings had dropped by more than half. Even white-tailed deer, animals weighing over 100 pounds, were becoming harder to find. Something was eating its way through the food chain from the bottom up. Not slowly, not gradually. The collapse had happened within a single decade, and the strangest part, there were no carcasses, no bones, no signs of disease. The animals hadn't died in place. They had been consumed, completely. Segment 3, the invasion. Nobody stopped. The culprit wasn't a disease. It wasn't habitat loss. It was a snake, a Burmese python, one of the 5 largest species on Earth, capable of reaching 23 feet long and swallowing a full-grown deer whole, and it had no business being in Florida. Burmese pythons are native to Southeast Asia. They belong in the jungles of Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam, not in the subtropical wetlands of southern Florida. But the exotic pet trade changed that. Through the 1980s and 90s, tens of thousands of baby pythons were imported into the United States. They were sold in pet shops for as little as $20, cute at 12 inches long, manageable at 3 feet. But Burmese pythons don't stop growing. Owners who couldn't handle an 8-foot snake did the worst thing imaginable. They released them into the wild. Some escaped during Hurricane Andrew in 1992, when a breeding facility near the Everglades was destroyed. By 2000, the snakes had established a permanent breeding population. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission knew it was happening. Reports came in from airboat operators, hunters, and hikers who spotted massive snakes gliding through the sawgrass. But the warnings were dismissed. Nobody believed a tropical snake could survive, let alone thrive, in the Everglades. They were catastrophically wrong. Segment 4. How 10,000 became 10 million. Here is the part that should terrify you. A single female Burmese python can lay up to 100 eggs in a single clutch. She doesn't need a mate every season. She can store sperm for years. And in the Everglades, she has no natural predator large enough to stop her. Do the math. One female produces 100 offspring. Half of those are female. Within 2 years, each of those 50 females produces her own clutch. Within a decade, the numbers become almost incomprehensible. Current estimates suggest between 100,000 and 300,000 Burmese pythons now live in southern Florida. Some researchers believe the true number could be far higher, potentially in the millions. The snakes are ambush predators. They lie motionless for days, perfectly camouflaged in the sawgrass, waiting for prey to wander within striking distance. Their heat-sensing pits detect warm-blooded animals in total darkness. Their jaws unhinge to swallow prey several times their own head diameter. Their digestive systems can break down bone, fur, and feather, leaving nothing behind. This is why the biologists found no carcasses. The pythons weren't just killing the Everglades mammals, they were erasing them. Segment 5. Why nothing worked. Florida didn't ignore the problem. They threw everything they had at it, and it made almost no difference. The state launched the Python Challenge, paying hunters to wade into the swamp and catch snakes by hand.
Florida Python Challenge, and that challenge will run from August 5th through August 14th.
In the first year, over 1,600 people signed up. They caught 68 pythons. 68 out of potentially hundreds of thousands. The problem is simple and devastating. Burmese pythons are nearly impossible to find. Their camouflage is perfect. They can remain motionless for weeks. They hunt at night and retreat into impenetrable mangrove thickets during the day. Trained detection dogs were brought in. They worked, but only in dry conditions, on open ground. In knee-deep water and dense vegetation, the dogs lost the scent almost immediately. Researchers tried using radio-tagged scout snakes, male pythons fitted with transmitters and released back into the wild. The idea was that scout snakes would lead scientists to breeding females hiding deep in the swamp. It worked, slowly. Each scout snake might locate 1 or 2 females per season. Meanwhile, the population kept growing faster than any removal effort could match. For every python captured or killed, dozens more hatched unseen in the sawgrass. The math was brutally clear. Conventional methods could not solve this problem. They needed something radically different. Segment 6. The dead mouse drop. In 2022, scientists at the United States Geological Survey proposed something that sounded like a fever dream. They wanted to stuff dead mice with acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, attach tiny transmitters to them, and drop them from helicopters across the Everglades by the thousands. The room went quiet. Then someone asked the obvious question: why would that work? The answer required understanding how pythons hunt. Burmese pythons are scavengers as much as they are predators. They readily consume dead prey. A dead mouse dropped into the sawgrass would be detected by any python within range, drawn by the scent of decomposition. The transmitters served a dual purpose. If a python consumed the mouse, scientists could track the signal to the snake's location. If the acetaminophen worked as expected, they could recover the snake's body and remove it from the ecosystem. Each mouse was carefully dosed, enough to kill a python, but harmless to the mammals, birds, and reptiles native to the Everglades. The concept was elegant. Instead of sending humans into an impossible landscape to find invisible snakes, send the weapon directly to the snakes themselves. Helicopters could cover thousands of acres in a single day. No wading through chest-deep water, no machetes through mangrove roots. The mice would do the finding. The chemistry would do the rest. Segment 7, the chemistry. Nobody expected. Here is the part that changes everything. Acetaminophen is one of the safest over-the-counter medications on the planet for mammals. Billions of doses are taken every year without incident. But for Burmese pythons, it is an almost instant death sentence. And the reason comes down to a single missing enzyme. Mammals possess an enzyme that metabolizes acetaminophen and clears it from the body within hours. Pythons do not. Their livers cannot process the compound. It builds up in the bloodstream, destroying red blood cells and shutting down organ function. A dose that wouldn't bother a house cat kills a 200-pound python within 72 hours. Researchers tested the compound extensively before proposing field deployment. Native species, alligators, birds, turtles, mammals, all metabolized the drug normally. The weapon was selective in a way no trap, no hunter, and no poison had ever been. Early field trials showed promising results. Pythons consumed the baited mice readily. Recovery rates of snake carcasses exceeded expectations. But the program is still in its early stages. Scaling from controlled tests to millions of acres of trackless wetland presents enormous challenges. The Everglades cannot wait much longer. Every year, the pythons push farther north. They have been found in the suburbs of Miami, in swimming pools, in parking garages. The dead mouse drop isn't a silver bullet, but it may be the first weapon in this war that actually tips the odds. The Everglades is not just a Florida problem. It is one of the most important freshwater ecosystems in the Western Hemisphere, a system that filters drinking water for 8 million people and shelters dozens of species found nowhere else on Earth. If the pythons win, the collapse doesn't stop at the sawgrass. Bird populations crash, alligator nesting patterns shift. The entire food web unravels from the middle out. And this story carries a warning that extends far beyond Florida. Invasive species are now the second leading cause of extinction worldwide. Every ecosystem on the planet is one careless introduction away from the same kind of catastrophe. The dead mouse drop may slow the bleeding, but can it reverse 20 years of unchecked destruction? Or have we already passed the point of no return and just don't know it yet? If you want to know what other ecosystems are hiding a ticking time bomb, subscribe now, because the next collapse might already be underway.